Hi, my name's Luke, and what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be just talking about the similarities and also the differences within two different coaches. We've got one team coach, Alex Ferguson, and the other team, sort of individual coach, which is Enzo Calzaghe. And I'm just going to be discussing the similarities and differences in their roles, responsibilities, and the skills, and then I'm going to just explain and analyse sort of evaluate as well the different areas of techniques, the three different techniques, and how they can be pros and cons for a coach. So just going to go through that now. As I come through here, basically what I've got is, I've got on here, you've got sports coaching, we've got coaching role, what the roles can be for a manager. When you've basically got a manager, you've basically got sort of you've got an individual manager. You've got Enzo Calzaghe. He will basically make decisions on a single person. A difference to what Alex will do is he has to make a decision not just on individuals but as a group, as a whole. He's basically got many different people, which this can affect. So making a decision which may suit one person may not suit other people, and then that can have effect in the group. So there's sort of like a difference within that. Obviously they're a manager within the same respect, and they have that managerial role, but that role can have effect, and it can sort of differ in between different people. As well, I'm just saying that Enzo, you can affect one person, and that's the only person he's got to deal with. He know what exactly that athlete needs. As well, if Alex makes a decision on one person, but that can affect two or three different people that don't get on with that decision. And Alex then basically, you've got that he has to adopt it, so he has to be approachable to many different people. As where Enzo, he has to be approachable to only one person. He's got one person, the athlete he's working with. He will know that person personally, inside and out. That person will go to him about anything. But he has to also then make sure that that person can open up to him about anything. That person can, whether it be any sort of gender background, anything like that they can sort of discuss any sort of personal problems that they feel that those problems can be spoken to their coach, as it is an individual sport. So that individual athlete hasn't really got many other people around there. They're not in a team environment. As well, Alex, need to be approachable to many different people, but there are sort of other little problems where maybe the team captain and that can sort it out. But these problems, you don't have a team captain in individual sport. You only have your coach, and your coach, you've basically got to discuss everything with you. Your coach can be your nutritionist, psychologist, everything in an individual respect. And it's not like you're going to have a whole team of psychologist people, nutrition people. That's what happens in a football club basis, what Sir Alex Ferguson has, but Enzo might not have that. Obviously they've got to be approachable. They both have great approachability, but they have it in different ways. And also you've got, as a manager, you have to sort of deal with the accommodation, travel, financial side of things like that. Alex works in a club environment, so he still have a good knowledge of this, and he still have input on where he wants it, where he thinks is best for his team to train and play. Maybe when travelling abroad, they think that will be a more isolated area away from media, and he can sort of delegate this as well. Though he could say to his assistant manager, "Could you sort this out for me?" Or maybe they might actually have somebody at the club which is actually there to deal with travel and accommodation type areas. Enzo might not have that luxury, because he's an individual coach. He'll deal with the travel and the accommodation of setting all that up. So obviously that's going to sort of eat into his time. So he's got to have maybe a bigger role, a bit more information than what Alex will. They both still take up the same role, but Alex may not have to do sort of such a bigger role as not being an individual coach. So if Alex was an individual coach, and Enzo was the team coach, Enzo might sort of get along with entrusting roles to people which he thinks he needs to do, as where Alex, he might not feel comfortable with sort of organising that all by himself, and only having input on the decisions, not actually doing all the research based ideas as well. So within that, they both sort of again, they both face the same problems, but they deal with it in different ways. Obviously, then you've got a motivator. As an individual coach can be hard because you're motivating one person. You're trying to keep that positive environment going for that one athlete, and then basically sort of trying to keep them going with set goals, set targets, and sort of trying to keep praising them within training sessions, and when they're in certain fights and everything like that. If they're in a fight, you've literally got that boxer and you've got the in-between rounds then to give feedback. You can't exactly be in the ring with them. It's not the same as the team environment where Alex, he might have a positive effect on some members within the team, and then this then travels through and flows through, and this has a positive effect on the rest of the teammates. They can sort of all get themselves going. Alex doesn't have to just rely on himself as a motivator, as what Enzo does for his athlete. Alex can then motivate some of his players. His captain can get the team going if they're losing in a match, as where Enzo solely relies on his motivational skills himself. It's sort of, they're both relying on the motivational skills in some ways, but again, they're dealing with it in different, same problems but in different ways. Alex is sort of using a linking way. He gets a few people, they're all motivated, transfers through. Enzo, he's got to deal with it individually. He knows that he's got to come up with something and a plan which is just going to solely affect that one person and keep that one person motivated. So it can be quite hard to motivate a whole team if you can't motivate that one person, or that few. Might not be able to do it. If Enzo was doing that and he was trying to just solely purpose on that one player, not the team as a whole. You've got that one player playing brilliant in that match, but the whole team doesn't play well, then it's still going to drag that one person down. You might get Alex, he's trying to then sort of motivate that one person a little bit, but not as much as what you would. That fighter could then lose, because he's not got that motivational, because he's used to sort of motivating that one person a little bit, and then a few other little bits with other people, and then that then transferring and transpiring through the team, not just an individual. So and then you've got the educator. Educator basically plays a role that Enzo and Alex, they have their players and athletes. They're going to be sort of wanting them to motivate them. Not motivate them, sorry. To educate them in a certain way. They're going to want to use. They're going to want to use good methods of speaking. They're going to make sure that their tone's correct. That they're making sure that they're using the right words. They're not using slang, especially in the eye of the media as well. And they're sort of educating them how to present themselves when they're sort of in interviews, and how to hold themselves well, and also how that interview can go, because if you say some bad things, that could reflect you as bad media. It's not just that as well. They've also got to educate them on their diet. So Alex will have to monitor a whole team, as where Enzo will just monitor that one athlete and monitor what he's intaking each day. So it might be able to that he can do that a lot easier. But Alex will then have nutritionists with him as well at the club, which will help with that. But again, it's sort of being able to delegate those jobs. Enzo might not be able to do that. He might want to if he's a team environment, he's so used to monitoring it so tightly as an individual basis. If he tries to do that within a team and not delegate those jobs, then it could be that he's overseeing too much, and this could be much more of his time, and then this could be having then a negative effect on other areas of his roles. As where Alex, he might try and not sort of be strict and watch over it on an individual one-person basis, and just sort of keep track of it bit by bit, which could also make the athlete slip, because it might be that he needed some more protein during that one recovery session. This could then be the last session before a fight, goes into a fight not fully prepared because those protein stores haven't been there to sort of replenish his muscle. It means that within that, then that his muscles aren't quite fully repaired for when he comes into his fight. When he comes into his fight, then he ends up losing because his muscles are tired out because they haven't fully repaired from the last training session, which then obviously could result in him losing the fight, and that's just down to not actually sort of educating the player correctly within the actual dieting, and him not being able to monitoring that diet as well. And you've got responsibilities as well, which we're going to move on to now. Both coaches are going to have CRB checks because they might work with young athletes at some point, and they're going to want to make sure that they're fully protected within that area because it could be bad. It's going to be very bad media if you haven't got a CRB check and then you're sort of, especially at that level, and then you're going in there and then coaching with younger athletes, younger children. And then the media are going to snap onto that and say, why are they putting themselves in that situation when they haven't had the correct checks to be doing so. With Enzo, it's behind closed doors. With Alex, it's out in the open. So it's sort of they're sort of two of the same, but they are in different respects. They are different as well. You've got that. They're the same, but they deal with it in a different way. You've got data protection as well within the legal obligations, within responsibilities. Alex will have to deal with a lot of confidential and personal information from our whole team, as well. Enzo will deal with it like one person. So it's about keeping track of that as well. Enzo might not deal with that within a team environment as being an individual coach. Obviously they deal with those legal obligations within their field, in individual and team. But if you put Enzo in that environment, he might not deal well with sort of keeping track with all those different areas of data for different people. As well, Alex might find it a little bit strange just to be dealing with one person, and he might sort of overanalyze that data a little bit more, in keeping that safe, and could end up sort of investing too much time within that. With the legal obligations, you have to be fully qualified as well to be a coach. You've got the FA badges on there for Alex, which you can do on your own back. With the FA coaching badges, you can do your level 1, your level 2, and your UEFA B as well, all fairly simple through your own methods, in spending money and paying for those qualifications and get actually doing the work and doing the knowledge. But with Enzo, you have to actually be part of the club, and they have to be nominated and selected, to go through those qualifications. So that's why he designed, got his own gym going, and sort of then he was able to put himself through those qualifications to ensure that he could coach his son, and that he was up to date with everything else as well. Last responsibility really is sort of like the coaching. You've got the coaching environment. It's important for them to know their coaching environment and their facilities. Enzo is in an enclosed environment in the gym, as well. Alex, he'll be working outside on the pitch, especially when they're playing abroad as well. They're using different locations for training areas. So it needs to be that he needs to make sure that the facilities and the pitch quality are good, as this could cause injury to his players. As where you've got it for Enzo, he will, 99% of the time he'll know his environment because they're working in that gym for 6 months straight, preparing for a fight. He'll know every bit of equipment. He would have checked that all. So with him going into the sort of environment where Alex is in there, they're obviously both doing the same role within coaching environments, but changing it up to a team environment is where they're moving across to different countries, different environments all the time. He might forget because he's so used to knowing what the environment's like and how well the equipment is. He may forget to check that in a team environment, causing players injuries, and then key players are out for key games. Same with Alex. When working with an individual athlete, they want to get in there, get on with it. If he's constantly checking everything every 5 seconds to ensure that it's okay, obviously it's good coaching environment knowledge, but it means that he's not actually. It could be that he's too focused on the coaching environment instead of the actual athlete within that environment itself. So yeah, it could be that within those, obviously they're both again still doing the same role, but they're doing it within a different way. Then you've got the health and safety, which is the last one. Sorry, you've got Enzo. They keep track of injuries, and he's got that one athlete. So if he knows there's an injury, that's what he's probably going to be working on, getting that person fit and getting them over that injury. With Alex, he's got to keep tracking aware of the whole group. He's got a lot of files to keep up to date on. He'll have a whole team, so he'll delegate this. Within delegating this, if he goes into an individual athlete, it may be good. He may get on okay with it, but he may not, because he may be used to delegating it. He may used to not be looking at certain things within injury and fitness testing, where it's come back and said the athlete might not be fit within one area, and then he's not quite used to looking at this area because it's been delegated, and he would be advised to be notified if there are any problems in that area. And then it comes to him actually going through that, and then he's not spotting that, and then he's actually getting the individual athlete to do that training which they shouldn't be doing, and then resulting in aggravating an injury within that area, which obviously doesn't help. It also helps, for session plans to be adopted to all players, which is perfect for Alex. He will be there adopting, making sure that that session plan, if he's got a few injured players, that they're sort of involved within the session, but they're involved in a lighter part of the session and not the main session, and that is sort of incorporating everybody. With Enzo, he's doing that with one person, so he knows one sole thing that he's going to be working on. So if he goes into a team environment, and then he's basically then got to do that exactly the same role as what Alex is doing, so then he's got to do it that, he's got a train session where he's got to sort of include people which are injured in a lighter part of the session, and then people aren't injured in a main part of the session, then that he can have effect on that. It could be that he's not used to doing this, so he sets out the session plan wrong, and those people that have got aggravated injuries then could become full-on injuries, and then again you could be missing the players for key matches. It is sort of they are doing the same role, but they do it within different methods. Once again, which has been the same throughout all of this, and that's what can happen. Basically, you've got equal opportunities as well. Enzo and Alex, they will give all athletes, any age, gender, background, a chance to show what they can do. But Alex has got this in a different way. He can pick up youth players and he can mix them in with experienced players. Within mixing in with experienced players, you've got lower competitions, so where you might play teams from lower leagues. Obviously you want to win still and make a competitive team, but you want to be able to nurture and provide players with that vital playing experience and know-how, so that they can progress and then they can be playing for the team in the future. Alex has the luxury of sort of mixing in with a few experiences. Enzo might go. He's got an individual athlete, so he hasn't got that luxury. He will then, you might get a player into amateur boxing and then build it up over. This can take time. With Alex sort of doing this, nitpicking a few players and sticking them in the squad in a few areas, and having experienced players to guide them through the match, it's fine. But then, if you've got a young amateur boxer there trying to build him up to be a professional, and he's losing fights, he hasn't got any experience. Obviously you've got the coach there, but he hasn't got any as part of the team. It's an individual sport, so it's about being able to sort of be able to actually provide your experience but pass it on to the player. Not that you've got player to player, you've got coach to player. So again, they're both doing the same sort of equal opportunities and providing experience for players, building them up through the ranks, but they both have different methods of doing this and different luxuries of doing this as well. The next one is sort of coaching skills, which we're going to sort of look at now. We've got communication. Communication is a vital part. With communication, within that you've got with communication, you've got individual communication with Enzo, where he's working with that individual athlete. With Alex, you've got group communication. So they're both communicating. They're both great communicators. But when you do it in an individual perspective, you're in heart-to-heart talks, very close with an individual athlete, and you're sort of sat there talking one-to-one. With Alex, he's addressing a group, so he's not going to be sort of heart-to-heart or one-to-one. It's that he's got to sort of make his, where you're an individual, you make it specific about them. With a group, you're making it general. You're trying to add in a few specific things about certain players, but you are trying to make it very general so it relates to the whole group, not relates to one person. So with Enzo sort of working with a team situation where he's trying to communicate to them on a level of where he's there, talking to them, and actually doing that, he might not get on in the same environment as what Alex will do. Within that respect, because he's used to talking one-to-one and making it specific, he might not be very great at making general conversation, sort of talking to a group as a whole, and having, obviously have that part of, banter in an environment as well, a laugh and a joke. He might not be used to that because he's used to do it one-to-one, but not as a whole group. So that could be a new thing to him, and he might, he's a great, successful individual coach. But when it comes to him trying to be a successful coach, as a team, then it might not work for him. The same with Alex as well. He's used to doing it. He's used to doing it in a team environment. With him trying to then do that in an individual environment, it doesn't quite work for him. When he's basically trying to do that, he's trying to talk to a group. When he's trying to talk to an individual, it's a different experience for him. He's not used to that. And again, it can show, and it could be that the individual athlete doesn't progress as much as what he would do with Enzo as what he would with Alex. Again, they're both doing the same role, but they're doing it within different methods. Then you've basically got organisation. Alex has to organise a session for a whole group's needs. Enzo does this in an individual. You put Enzo within a group stage where he's got it with the same environment as what Alex has, and he's got to make sure that adapts to a whole group. He's not used to that. He's used to making sure that it's adopted to an individual. So have an individual there. He might set up a training session where he's got it for one thing on that individual. If he goes and does that in a team environment, he's setting it for one starter player, one key player, saying, right, we're doing this. But that doesn't, you've got to set it up. We're going to work on the attacking players. He thinks that's the most important. If you've got that for defenders aren't going to want to be attacking. They're going to want to do some defensive training. So you just got no mixture in the training session, just one set target within that training session and one set priority. That's not going to work for the group as a whole. So he'd have to be aware of that. It's the same for Alex. He might be used to sort of setting it as a whole group and a mixture and variety. If he's doing that for an individual and working on 6 different things in one session instead of working on one key thing, and then doing this because he doesn't realise that there's one key thing you work on each session, then that could throw off the individual athletes' sort of areas as well. With Enzo, with the organisation, you've got injuries. He has one person, one athlete. It's not the same as what Alex would have, where if he's got an injury in one position, he's got other players to fill those positions. So they're both still doing the same role within organisation, organising their athletes, but they're totally within 2 different environments again. And then basically it just comes down to analysation. You're analysing the game, the performances. Alex has many players to analyse. He might walk around a pitch, pick a few areas out. He won't be too specific within that because he wants to make sure that his team works as a whole, not just that individual working greatly, but the team altogether. Whereas Enzo has one, he'll pick out and he'll be more influential on those little areas, and he'll make sure that he's got those areas down to a pinpoint, and that he wants to work on those different kinds of areas. Again, is Alex working as a team? He's got have his team coaching staff as well. But if you're working as a team, generally as a team, to try and get them to work. But Enzo's then working with an individual. So you think if Enzo's trying to pick out those key points, he's going to end up getting himself too much work in a team environment with Alex. And again, then with Alex, if he's going into an individual environment and then he's trying to pick out just general, specific little areas, the athlete, he's not as detailed as what Enzo would be in an individual with an individual athlete. With that, that basically then could be that he misses key areas. It might be that his left hook needs working on when sort of countering. He's sort of leaning in with his right, moving. Then you're throwing a left hook, for example. If he's not watched enough and analysed this, it could be that he could get caught out on that side, on that defensive side when trying to sort of counter an opponent in the ring. This could then result in the fight being lost. So you've got individual improvements and you've got team improvements, and throwing those two coaches into those different areas, they're both still doing the same role, but they're doing it within a different perspective. But that's basically sort of those areas explained really within the two different coaches and the different coaching environment. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sort of move on to the pros and cons of the actual techniques. Obviously, I'll still focus on Alex and Enzo here. Basically, with that, you've got goal setting. With goal setting, it's great. You can set smart goals. You make it specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time phased. But you need to make sure that you're agreeing this with the player. You might have a player such as you've got Fernando Torres, not on the best of shooting form at the moment, not scoring as many goals as what he used to. How do you get that player to then, how do you get them to motivate themselves, and also you motivate them to do better and try and get them in a good state of mind where they're scoring goals again? So goal setting, you might set them a goal where you might say, right, you're going to have 10 shots, I want you to get at least 5 of those on target and score 3 of them. Out of those 10, in a one-on-one situation with a goalkeeper, that's great, it's his target. But then as you try and progress it more, you need to make sure that you're sort of agreeing this with the athlete. They're progressing it more, but they might come to a stalemate stage of where you're trying to progress it and agree it with them, and they don't want to push on further because they know they're hitting that target, and they're not challenging themselves enough. They're going, right, no, I'm comfortable on this target, don't want to move from it. But then this can also help motivate them, but it can also demotivate them as well. You've got that point of where if they're not getting past that certain stage, they start to demotivate. They're like, no, I'm comfortable, fine here. They're not progressing, and this is having an effect on their match or their game. It could be tennis, boxing, football, anything. It's having an effect on their performance. But if they're not then hitting these targets, if you're setting the targets too high and they're not hitting them, that's when they become demotivated. They might just be like, you set them a target of scoring 6 goals in the next 10 games. They don't hit that target. It might not be their fault. The ball may not have came to them. They may have been performing really well. But then because they haven't hit that target, they're solely thinking on that target that I haven't hit it, I'm demotivated, I'm not feeling great. So that's a pro and a con to goal setting. Obviously, you've got simulation as well. You've got to be able to have help with the understanding that basically you help with the understanding of the game. You can sort of simulate it where you can set up a corner and you can defend it with defence versus attack. But then it comes to a match, you've got different pressures on the situation. So it's still not giving you quite that match situation. So you've still got a pro and a con there. It's still giving you an insight to it. But it's also then, if that person's relying on that one situation and they think it's going to be exactly the same as training, then they're going to slip up because you're not defending against the same players. You've got players that will make different kinds of movements in the box and may make different runs to the players which you've marked before. If they're used to that and they think that that's the way that they're going to stick to, then that's obviously then going to be a con, because that other player, they might be used to somebody running at the back post. They go to the back post, that player's gone the other way, gone to the front post, nodded in the ball, back of the net. They're then feeling, right, that simulation works, not working, don't want to do it again. But you've got to make sure that you're doing it so it's providing with an understanding of how they can simulate it, but it's not going to provide it with the real effect of what it does in a match, or sort of like a game situation. And then you've got fitness assessment. A pro to this is that it can help you with your team selection. Good fitness assessment, sort of actually picking out the right tests. If you pick them out for a team, and you might pick out a few players and that you want in key roles, you want to work hard and press the ball high, they might pass certain fitness tests on that one day, but then it doesn't mean that you're going to pass it on another day. If you're not picking the right test for that area, you might pick, for example, a Cooper run. A Cooper run might not be exactly, obviously a footballer's running around, but he's not running around in one area around in a circle. That's more of an athlete. A footballer might be suited more to a bleep test, with the twisting and turning is what they experience in a match. A pro to this is that obviously a good fitness testing selection, such as like pick a bleep test, they're going back and forward, up and down the pitch. It's sort of simulating exactly what they would do in a match. And obviously pace increases as well. With that pace increasing, that sort of has the same effect as what it does with your legs feeling tired throughout the game. It feels as if even when you're jogging, it feels that you're going at a quicker pace of what you were at the start of a match, because it's gone on longer and you've been using your legs longer. As to where a Cooper run, it's just in a you're covering so much distance within that 12 minutes. They might be fine to do that, but they might not be fine to do it over a 60-minute to 70-minute period of what you want them to do it in. So you might be picking the wrong players. So obviously you've got a pro and a con to that as well, which then could lead to them losing the match. But that's basically my pros and cons to the coaching techniques, and also sort of like my similarities and differences for the roles, responsibilities and skills of a coach as well.